This is the exact episode that I wanted from this show, especially coming off the last 3 episodes. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Westworld review. Today we're going to be going over Season 3, Episode 4, talking full spoilers. And of course, if you're a big fan of Westworld, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss out on Westworld content every single week as we dive into these episodes and have fun discussing them in kind of a manner that maybe a civilized human being might, or maybe a civilized host might, because who knows, I could be a host possibly, maybe you are as well. Make sure to comment down below, let me know your theories for next week, and as well, let me know your theories overall and what you guys thought of this episode. So without further ado, let's get started. This episode was one that I was kind of waiting on because I have loved and to really have liked the last 3 episodes, and I loved Season 2, and I really liked Season 1, and this is one of my favorite shows out there right now. But what I said was, even though we only have 8 episodes left, or 8 episodes for this season, and now 4 left, I said this next episode's got to kind of kick it into gear, and it certainly did. It started putting everything together, and let's just talk about the giant reveal right off the top, because this is going to be the biggest discussion out of everything that happened in this episode. So Charlotte, you know, we had all these theories of who was in Charlotte Hale, who was in this body, who was in that body. No, Dolores copied herself. Holy shit, Dolores copied herself. Oh my fucking god. Like, I mean, that's what I'm getting from it. I don't think she didn't take any other pearls. She took the pearls and copied herself into each and every one of those, which makes it to be different Doloreses that now Maeve and everyone else has to deal with, which really plays a more manipulative game now. And oh my god, you know, that was something that I think some of us knew, and maybe that she had split her personality twice between Dolores and Wyatt, but it's straight up just all Doloreses all the time now. And it makes her a more interesting thing. And also, like, the way that I like watching this now is, like, each actor that's playing this version of Dolores is quite interesting to see because we see different interpretations and different subtleties that they take that now looking back, you're like, well, yeah, I could see that being a Dolores. I could see that subtlety right there. And it's so smart in the directing and, again, in just the writing and everything that kind of do inside those performances, especially now looking back at last week's episode with Charlotte Hale, makes 100% sense of why I'm like, yep, that is Dolores, and I loved it. I love that idea, and it really took me for a spin because I had the concept that maybe Caleb and Charlotte Hale were on a different timeline. That is not the case because I thought, hey, maybe Caleb is in her body. Who knows? That's not the case at this point. From what I understand at this point, I could be completely wrong. You can let me know in the comments. The way that I caught is that every single version of those pearls are duplicated versions of Charlotte Hale, and now makes for a very intriguing concept kind of going in. Of course, heading into that whole thing, let's kind of start with each and every character of kind of where we get with them. So let's start with Stubbs and, of course, Bernard, who have a kind of smaller part in here. When they finally intersected with inside the party, I got all giddy. I'm like, oh my god, this is actually moving at a good pace. That Stubbs fight between him and Dolores was freaking awesome, and I love that moment in its whole entirety. Again, even that whole moment was really small, was really nice. Then we kind of see Bernard, he's trying to escape with Liam Dempsey. Dempsey doesn't get away. All that whole thing ensues. The security guard kills all of his own security men and then tells Dempsey to run off, but Caleb catches up to him, and it ends with Dolores and Caleb all together. Let's move into the other thing I also liked was, of course, Caleb and Dolores' character this time around. I've been saying I love Aaron Paul, and I love what he's been able to do with Caleb, and it feels like he's now stuck into this war, and there's still this certain unknown element of him that I'm really fascinated with. And I think the thing that I'm most fascinated with his character at this point is where does he come to play in all of this? How does he come to play? And I think that's what I'm most looking forward to how the rest of the season develops him most of all. And the one scene I really liked with him was the whole blood thing. I like how the whole blood and like the kind of playing with the technology in the show has always been one of the most fascinating things, and that kind of just adds into there in its whole entirety. But really that whole thing plays out. You know, Caleb catches up to him and, again, ends with Dolores and him all together. Dolores, though, let's move into Maeve, who I've been saying Maeve is one of my favorite characters in this whole entire show. It really goes between her or freaking Dolores. They're both great. Charlotte's also awesome. I mean, I really love every single character in here, and that's kind of one of the best strong suits of this show is how strong each and every one of the characters are. But Maeve, I know we had her working for Sirach. That whole thing comes to play. She starts actually doing his bidding because pretty much he's like, if you don't work for me, I'm going to shut you off. There's benefits to both sides. Sirach is becoming a very interesting character and one that's, could have easily came off as a one-note villain, but he's not. You can totally see that there's a lot more under the surface to him than there would be. There's some political power in there. There's some actual just manipulative power in there. And Maeve's whole storyline, again, the start out with Sirach was very unique and dynamic, but once you kind of get into it and Maeve actually going into Singapore to actually figure out what is going on, of course you get to that whole thing, she goes to that underground thing, just a straight up badass. Like, I love when the guy goes to pull out his gun, boom, just shoots him right there and then says, you're coming with me, we're gonna go find the Yakuza, finds the Yakuza, great action sequences in that whole entirety, love the stylized shots of those, Thandie Newton just kicking serious ass and just show me why I love Maeve. And damn, it gets into the big reveal of who the leader of the Yakuza is. Again, that's kind of where we start to figure out that is Dolores. Oh my god. Yeah, that moment in particular, that whole fight scene, again, really dynamic. The whole embodiment of the model that Dolores decided to use inside the Yakuza was also very interesting because it ties back into Maeve's personality and just their ideologies. You can see how Maeve sees a difference in what Dolores wants. Dolores says she wants to build a better world for them, but is that actually the truth at this point? And the ideologies, I think, is that really smart thing that is going to be playing out through the rest of the season. Again, that whole thing kind of ensues. Maeve gets stabbed, dies, no one really dies in Westworld. We all know Maeve's going to come back in some capacity. Hopefully, I at least assume. But that whole shot of her on the floor laying with the blood gushing out and the whole white goo that kind of makes them was really, really cool. Love that whole shot. And it left it for a very interesting, I cannot wait for next week after that scene. And just in general, we move to the last part of this, which is the one character that has also been an unknown element this season thus far, and that is the Man in Black. Now, Ed Harris is so freaking good. And really, the thing I've loved this season so far is each actor's kind of gotten that one singular moment to really showcase their acting abilities. And Ed Harris gets that in this whole entire episode thus far. This is some of the best acting Ed Harris has done in all of Westworld, and it just continues and continues. And really, again, the way that they edited this episode was one of my favorite things. And in fact, the way that they're editing everything together with all these characters and the way that they're explaining it and the way that they actually bring it out. Of course, that whole reveal between Bernard, Dolores, Maeve and Dolores, and of course even the Man in Black himself, William, and Dolores within Charlotte Hale's body was one of the most great things to see inside this whole entire episode. And now knowing that Dolores knows that Sirach is involved with, of course, Tessa Thompson's character Charlotte, makes it very interesting to see how that all plays out because, again, we thought Sirach could be up ahead of Dolores, but that's not the case. Dolores is in front of everyone. She's playing it all out. And it is so fascinating, and especially in that reveal right to the Man in Black was just great, and it puts him in a hospital, and that's where it goes. He's, again, one of those unknown elements, kind of just like Caleb is, where is he going to play out within the rest of the season? I'm curious to say the least, but guys, if you guys are new here, before I give you guys my final thoughts on this episode, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and if you love Westworld, if you love geeky content, or just in general, you love entertaining stuff, I love discussing it on this channel on a daily basis, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, comment down below, and let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you guys excited? Did you guys love this episode? Did you not? For me, this might be my favorite episode of the season so far. I wouldn't say it's still a best made. I think the best made is last week's episode with Tessa Thompson, but I love the way that they're editing this and not making it as confusing, but also still sticking to the core of what Westworld is. I think this was a great episode. It gets me super excited for episode 5 next week, and just in general that we have 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 4 episodes left, guys. Kind of makes me sad that we're already ending and probably knowing that season 4 will be the last, but I'm all for it. Guys, this is seriously one of the best shows watching out there. For some reason you watch this and you don't watch Westworld, make sure to go check it out because you really should. I hope you guys are staying safe. Keep washing your hands. Stay home. Stay quarantined. There's tons of stuff to be binging, and I hope to catch you guys next week. So thank you guys again so much for watching this, and of course, until next time, stay classy.